Child, the ghetto, the ghetto,
The ghetto.
the ghetto, the ghetto. It's okay. So, okay, part three, working. Wait, yeah, working the rainbow. So, yeah, what part really stuck out to you the most?
So I think well, the fact that it talked a lot about the different orishas, and with that, it's a little familiar because I've had my own experience with honoring the orishas and learning about them, and setting up my own altars, and having some of my kind of like apprehensions and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So that's some of the stuff that kind of stuck out to me a little bit. And then I was looking at how they set up their altars and things, and that was something I remember doing and looking over previously too. So yeah, that's the parts that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah, and I'm looking down at the book too,
Me
at
too.
the Orisha chart, and so
Uh-huh.
and my book is like all torn up. It's like a Bible. It's all torn up with the little pieces and
Yes.
things, and
Yes, yes,
and
yes, yes.
absolutely, and like learning my like going through my spiritual journey and beginning it. Even before I read Jambalaya, that's how you were
Mm-hmm.
there. This is how we
Mm-hmm.
began. We began with understanding and studying, learning how to respect. One thing that we
Mm-hmm.
really did was really just
Yes.
thorough research of how, like, to make sure that we are doing proper reverence of
Mm-hmm.
a culture that really called toward us. So
Right.
I really recall like how much working with the Orisha and identifying like my spiritual way and what I believe in and what how I practice the Orisha or the seven African powers, because we know there's like, what is it, 400 plus one Orishas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
because
so
my,
many.
my favorite one is not even in this book. So yeah.
Yeah, and then they have like there's like Ochosi, and was it
Yes.
Aja, or
Aja was
yeah, and so
mine that I loved so much.
there are
But then
so
Oya also was one that I've always kind of been like, girl, I know you calling, but ooh, I'm a little you scare me a little bit. But I always see her, and I have yet I'm still just like, ooh, okay, because she is rough, honey, rough, 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 but she's amazing, beautiful.
right, yeah, and I really like how in this chapter, it really, and well, in this section, it really infuses like Orisha and into the
Hmm.
everyday life, and so, and that's one thing I really learned about when reverencing the Orishas, or adhering to their tales, because if you look at all the tales and the stories, or the patakis of what they're called, they're about character building. There's so many lessons, and then if you can hear the same story like 3 or 4 or 5 times, depending on where you are in your life, it will mean something different. You'll get a different lesson about it. And so it's more about, yes, it's about the reverence and the respect, but it's also about seeing how, if you're called to a specific orisha, why, what do you need to learn, and how can you evolve from that, and and how can what it is about your character that you can either enhance, just be
Right.
more of
Hmm.
yourself with. So I really like the orishas, I would say. And so I'll go, I'll name them. That you have Ilegba,
Hmm.
you have Obatala, Yemeya, Oya, Oshun, Shango, and Ogun. And they each have their days and their colors, and you'll see that
Yep.
all these references. And I think that because in this book, Louisa Tish, she is of, that culture, that Louisiana culture,
Yes.
of
Hmm.
voodoo, and and so it's um it's good to see how it was interweaved into her. It's just that's the culture part of it. I really like the culture.
Right. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds you of like I remember her talking, I think it was this part, her talking about how she grew up as a child and how she would just kind of be engrossed into things or kind of put into
Yeah.
things as a child, just living and walking around the neighborhood and through the streets. And a lot of things she couldn't really understand. But that kind of reminds us of our childhood because, it, I think back to my grandparents and some of the things they did, as well as my parents and some of the things they did. And it's like, especially my mom, and she didn't even know why she was doing some of those things. but it's just the way she was raised. You know, how we put up cinnamon brooms during the holidays.
Yep,
You know,
there.
it brings in abundance, but it also protects us from those holiday spirits too.
Starting in
You know,
October, yeah, October to
right,
November
right.
to December,
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
even when you think about wreaths, that's still symbolic because wreaths used to be made by hand. They have all these different intertwinings and herbs and flowers and things that have all significant meanings or whatnot. So you know, I just think about all those things and how she was just walking around and she would see these things as a kid and you know not think anything different because this is just part of daily life.
Mhm. And I think that's important as a child too, because especially when it's embraced in the household, because then you'll
Hmm.
grow up doing these things like second nature. I like to say first nature, like it's what you do.
Hmm.
But I think that what's the difference between then and now, not even in this book, because but maybe even so, but explaining more to children, of course, on their level,
Hmm.
but being
Hmm.
intentional, because especially as an Afro community, we're losing, history and
Hmm.
things like that. So
Yes.
it's really important to like
Uh-huh.
reach back. Was it
Hmm.
Sankofa, go back and get them, or go back and get it, and
Yes.
say, well, we do this because it can be really, juvenile. We do this because of
Hmm.
this, and as they age, we do this because of this
Right.
and this, and as they are adults, actually, we do this because of this. Okay, I need just,
Exactly.
but because you don't want the children to be our age and grown and be like, I don't know anything.
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
a big shift of a spiritual wave and people getting back and tapping into it, but don't forget the kids. And I really
Right.
like
Right.
Louisa. She tells about her childhood, going to show. I think that's a key point. It's like her childhood, being able to recollect all these things as a child, which goes to show children have. We know children have. They're there. Like there are some wise.
Right.
They're just sitting here to remember what they already knew. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And so it's like, so I think that's important too. And another thing, you said something like how she was walking around, um, like she didn't know. That's how we
Hmm.
are in like the level. We should always be in a level of that child mindset of being like we don't
Right.
willing and
Hmm.
open to learn, because
Yeah, that openness.
yeah,
That openness. You know, because I always remember growing up how I heard somebody say one time that adults are tainted.
mm,
And it's like, and that kind of rang clear to me because sometimes I feel like I have a very childish imagination because, you know, even though I have seen the realities of this world, you know, I'm very grateful the way my mother raised us because we weren't completely tainted. You know, we definitely, I know me, I'm 41, you know, and I still feel like I still see things, you
yeah,
I know I still see
that's how
things
it's
and
supposed to be. Yeah.
right, right. And I've taught my daughter who's 20 to be the same way, and she definitely sees things, so I always thought about how, we're tainted, but I feel like our generation is that generation that have one foot into the old folks way and one foot into the new folks, the our younger people's way, and we're just making those decisions on whether or what we're going to continue on, even though we were told, oh, that's not real or whatever, we're kind of continuing on and making those choices to instill that, the high vibrational type of mindset with our children.
That's right. That's right. No, but no, you're absolutely right. Because like you said, like we have one foot in, one foot out, and I think our mission is to the children or the generations that come up under us, then be all the way out. You
Hmm.
know, they have to be all the way out, but that requires us to pour into them differently and
Hmm.
specifically, but and I think that we're in an age and an era where the man or the people, they know that. That's why media
Yep.
is all-time high. Social media,
Yep.
look at me, look at this, and we'll teach you this, we'll have it quick, easy, convenient. So you're not, tapping into one another and teaching these things, so
Right.
I think that that's the age. It's not us, it's the children of us, and even their children, because some of them have kids too.
Hmm.
It's them weaning out of that mindset completely. But their biggest enemy, or their biggest obstacle, is
Hmm.
media. advancement of the
Yes.
world around them, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I mean, this is not going to be long. I really enjoyed part three, because this was really just explaining like the Orishas and all those things. And you know, we've had great experience with the Orishas. We're still experiencing them, and we understand things. And it really comes with learning from the ground up, and really, you know, learning about the characters and the patakis that these
Right.
stories, you know, and how it accumulates to your character in your life. So yes, so give thanks for part three. Yes, we did skip a week, you know, due to emergencies. But yeah, so if anybody watching, you have any chime in on part three of Jambalaya by Louisa Tish, you know, chime in below. Chime in below.
Yes, absolutely. And also just keep in mind too, this chapter also talks about how to do a lot of things and when
Yeah,
certain things are appropriate. And they have charts in the back here that you can follow. It tells you the types of candles and cleansing baths. It talks about your body and let's see. Yeah.
because
It's a
cleansing is
lot.
important. When you
Yes,
invoke
it
and
is a
open
lot.
up these portals to spirits, you have to make sure that you're properly cleansing.
Mhm.
Things I'm continuously learning, you know, so
Yes, making your own oils, you know, like, and this is right up my alley too, because, you know, both of our alleys, because we both are
yeah.
very big into making our own things.
The herbology.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a lot of good information and some things I forgot, you know, that
Yeah.
was in here. Dressing sacred spaces, invoking the directions. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
And I think you know, I've always been super hesitant. Just to make a last point on this, I've always
Mhm.
been super hesitant with doing workings that I find in books, especially when, you know, I get excited when I get these books off Amazon or I go look at them and I look at the reviews and I see the author is not of color. And so I
Yeah.
get super nervous. And it's not to say that any person that's not of color, this stuff is not legitimate or whatever. And we all know that any work that you do, you always put your own spin on it so that you can, that energy is pulled to you
And no
and
one
not the
can undo
creator
it.
of the,
Yeah.
right, of the original work. But it's like, you know, and I understand that that stuff probably most likely came from us, you know, at some point in time. However, I feel so much more secure with this book because this is a woman who has experienced life, who has gone through initiations of, you know, certain cultural practices and rituals, and she is not just trying to push her practice on us. She's talking about hoodoo. She's talking about voodoo. She's talking about working with different rishas, deities, and different cultures. And I like how she keeps it pretty broad and speaks on her experiences, but also things that she has seen and all that. And it just makes me feel more comfortable that, you know, I'm getting this from a sister, you know, like this
Yeah.
is
And
someone
you
that I
see a
can,
videographer, you can see the video
right,
history of where she's gone and the interviews when she's talked
right.
about. And yeah.
Right. She didn't just push a book of like, okay, here's some ritual work, do this. She gave us a good background
Story.
on,
She's a storyteller.
right.
But
She
yeah.
is. I love her oration, her orations, and just the fact that she is just, she, you know, she makes you feel at home. It's kind of like talking to like one of those older great aunties or whatever, you know, when the family gets together. And she always got a funny story or a
Yeah.
story of
She's good speech. All
a
the things.
cautionary
Yeah.
tale, you know. So that's why I like this book so much. As you can see, mine is torn on pieces.
Yeah. Look,
Like,
it's in
I
half.
got so look, because I know when I got this, I was on this hard, like it looked like something ate
Listen.
it.
Listen.
but but yeah, that's why I like this book quite a bit. So, you know, definitely anybody else is you know, looking through this,
Yeah.
definitely check out the workings on it in it and, you know, see if there's something you might like or might want to try. Definitely share because I'm interested in seeing,
Yeah, and
you
what has
know.
attuned to you? What has worked for
Hmm.
you? Also, one last thing before we go, follow us on our social media. Mother's Oddities, MUTHAS, Oddities, ODDITIES.
Hmm.
Alien Black Girl underscore. You can find me on TikTok, Puda Darling, PUDDHA Darling on TikTok. I have a podcast, the Black Librarian Podcast. New episodes coming. I also have another podcast called Black Birth Rising podcast,
And they're
so
all amazing.
yeah, yeah. So check me out and go ahead, Miss Star, tell us your.
Okay. So I have a business called Natural Eccentrics. I do natural organic products for your bath, body, and home. I also do a lot of metaphysical products with readings, as well as a lot of herb and root work, candles, whatever. And I actually also have a crafting part of that where I make actual journals. I will gut a book.
Grimoires.
And yes, I made grimoires, I've made personal journals, I've made art journals, whatever you like. I usually can customize it. But I'm Natural Eccentrics shop on Facebook. Natural Eccentrics is NATURALECCENCI. No, CI. Yeah, there we go. Natural
Oh.
Eccentrics. And then, but that's me on Instagram, TikTok, and I also have a RV page, which I do some of my same work up there, and it's called My Sustainable Life 2021. So check me out. You'll get to see my RV journeys and everything. And I do kind of incorporate my business with my RV as well, because I'm still out here trying to be as not I'm trying to be as less impactful on the environment as I can. And a lot of that means I make my own medicines and all that type of stuff too.
Yes, we must.
So you'll get to see all of that. But yeah, yay, yes.
All right, y'all. So give thanks, Star, for discussing part 3, and we'll see you all next week, willfully, for part 4.
All right. Later.